anybody in the Republican Party.
They refuse to even bring up La Raza. It's just like out of nowhere. It's just like they just drop. He's a racist. He's a racist. He said this guy needs to go because his ethnicity says he can't do the job. Well, if you look at it, he's a lawyer.
I think we
these people.
Okay. Yeah, I think we just lost you momentarily. Let's go to another caller. Marcos, did you say that we have a reporter that wants to join us live, or who?
Kit Daniels is on the line, back in the seat.
Okay, Kit, you wanted to chime in. Go ahead.
I wanted to respond to the caller you just had. If you want to meet a Hillary Clinton supporter, all you got to do is go to a local cemetery. I think you've actually reported on this, David. Is that, like, I think it was in North Carolina where you had all these 112-year-old voters all of a sudden on these registration forms.
That's right. They leave them on the rolls. They're 112 years old. And I told you, I had second-degree connection, I guess. It was my brother-in-law's friend who went to vote, and they said, you've already voted, and your mother has voted. And he goes, well, my mother is dead. And you don't have to produce a voter ID, and the Democrats don't want a voter ID. I mean, to show your driver's license or something else, that's not sufficient. I mean, you're going to have that if you cash a check somewhere. I mean, everybody requires ID.
It's funny. I saw on a newspaper obituary recently where this lady passed away, and she said that she was glad. The one thing she was glad about is she wouldn't have to vote for crooked politicians ever again. I was like, yeah, right, lady. Next year you're going to be voting for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, very sad. Even in death, you can't get away from this cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you can't escape death, taxes, or voting Democrat. It's going to continue going on.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Kit. We're going to continue with the calls going up to 10 o'clock, and we'll take a break. Let's go ahead and talk to, is it going to be Luther in North Carolina?
I was just going to say I'm a big fan of you guys. I've been listening for a real long time and everything, and I really like the fight for liberty that we've been having. And I know that we've been having a struggle for years and years and years, with the libertarians trying to get them out there and trying to get everybody, involved in the liberty movement. But the way I see it, man, it just seems like everybody, both the left and the right, it seems like they're both wanting to take away our civil liberties, and it scares the crap out of me. It truly does. It scares me because you have both Clinton and Trump wanting to extend the NSA program. You got them wanting to extend these warrantless wiretaps.
I agree. I don't see anybody, including the libertarian candidates, who really are going to stand up for our personal liberties. I mean, look at what Gary Johnson did with the Nazi cakes issue, where the one of the guys who is also running for the nomination, Austin Peterson, said, would you force the Jewish bakers to bake a cake for Nazis? Because the analogy was Christians, and I guess they took it to the Nazi level because, oh yeah, it's okay to discriminate against Christians. But to everybody's surprise, and people booed him in the office, Gary Johnson said, yes, I would do that. I would use government to coerce them into doing something, which is clearly a function of the free market and of private agreements for people. And so it really, there isn't a choice at the presidential level. And I said this from the beginning. I said, this election is about one thing and one thing only, really. It's about globalism versus nationalism. And if we're going to fight for individual liberty, we need to understand that in order to be able to get individual liberty, we need to fight consolidation of government. We have seen our liberties diminish as government's power has gone from the individual to the local government, from the local government to the state government, from the state government to the national government, and now it's about to go from the national government to the global government. And it is going to be almost impossible to get it back at that point. It's going to be really difficult to get it back from the national government. But we have things that we can do if we understand what those things are. Jury nullification, other forms of nullification at the state level. We can still fight for our liberties at the state level. But if we lose our national government, we are going to lose our individual liberties. That's why I said, even though Trump has made some very authoritarian statements, and I don't think he understands a lot of the principles of individual liberty, he does understand nationalism versus globalism. And we need, as libertarians who really want, not Libertarian Party people, but people who want individual liberty, we need to understand we got to fight that next level of consolidation if we're going to have a chance to get our liberty back, and fight for it at a local level. Not all the problems are going to be solved by having the right person in as the presidency. So just expect that's off the list. There's no difference between any of these candidates. They're all going to take away your individual liberties.
All right, thank you so much, Luther. I hate to cut you short, but we got to get in one more call before we go to break here. Let's talk to Kaysen in Baltimore.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Hold on, let me switch you off speaker.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay, got it? Casey, you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go
Yes,
ahead.
sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we're running short on time. Go ahead.
I had one point to make about this latest problem with Trump with the judge. And I think his main way out of it is to focus like a laser on his connection with La Raza.
Yes.
You guys yourselves have plenty of footage from violent protesters of Trump supporters when they're leaving the rallies on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
It hardly ever gets mentioned on network TV. I'm thinking maybe he could at least pull a few strings at Fox and get Fox to hammer it home. I think I've heard it mentioned once, and I watch nothing but news.
Yes, I agree. That's the big mistake I think he made. And I've talked about it on Sunday. I talked about it yesterday. I read quotes from Cesar Chavez. This is a guy who said La Raza is racist. It is anti-gringo. It is discrimination. And you're going to go from anti-gringo to anti-negro. And it needs to be shut down. And when he said that, his friends said the expressions fell because his Latino followers thought that he was about nationalism. And it turned out he was for humanity. And we need to understand, as you're talking about with these Mexican flags and everything else, he needs to say it's La Raza, and La Raza is about a competing form of nationalism, and you can see it in the riots. That's the direction that he needs to go. He needs to quote Chavez, who is a Hispanic organizer. Yeah.
Exactly. They want Texas back. They want California back.
Yes.
They want everything that we gained in a war that was hundreds of years ago back, and he is the lawyer faction of that movement, and there's so much that can be proven about this guy.
I agree.
That has not been said. It hasn't been mentioned at all.
Absolutely. We're out of time. Thank you so much for calling. Hang on. We got a couple more callers there. We're going to get back to you. We got to take a quick break at the top of the hour. We're going to be right back with some more results out of California, your calls, and our reporters on location. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Very close.
Yeah.
48. Welcome back to InfoWars Nightly News, live coverage of the final presidential primaries. This is hour number 4, and we're going to have some reports from Joe Biggs as well as our other reporters in the field. I want to get you caught up to all the results, except for California has not called in. They have just closed their polls just a couple of minutes ago, so we don't have any reports from California, but I can give you the results from the other 5 states. Then we're going to go to our callers here. We've got the smaller states that have called in, that have had the election. So far, it's not set in Montana. It's very close in Montana. Hillary is ahead 48.6 to Bernie at 46.7. 48.6 to 46.7. Pretty close in Montana, but there's not a lot of delegates there. Also, in New Mexico, Hillary has won there, it looks like. Hillary 53, Bernie 47. South Dakota, again, Hillary 51, Bernie 49. That's what's 80% of the vote. They've not called that one yet either. That's also pretty close. The only place where Bernie has won is North Dakota. He won that handily, 64 to 26. In New Jersey, again, Hillary won 63 to 37. A big margin there. So the question mark remains California. And the results tonight, with the 5 states that have voted so far, Hillary is ahead narrowly in 2 of those states, and looks like has won 2 others. So with only 1 state going for Bernie and a small state at that, it did not help him with the number of delegates that he would get out of the election. And that, I think, was a key thing for him to have to have. They really undercut that, as we've been saying all night, with the announcement early today from the AP saying, hey, we've done the math, and Hillary has exactly the number of delegates.
How does that happen?
Super delegates. Yeah,
How does
I smell
that happen?
a rat. I smell a rat. We all smell a rat with that. I mean, that is exactly what we would expect the mainstream media to do for Hillary Clinton. They've been in her court all along. They're not going to be there as impartial judges of that. And so that was very suspicious, and it discouraged a lot of people who would vote in these primaries, especially in California. They're going to have time to digest that information, more time than everybody else. And that's kind of like calling the winner before you have the election. They're very careful about not releasing the results of these individual states until all the polls have closed. And yet they did that this morning before these final 6 primaries. I think essentially shutting down the chances that Bernie had to win the number of delegates and say to the superdelegates, you're reversing the will of the people. You need to switch and come with me and follow the will of the people. But at this point, with these election results, and of course, I'm sure there was some rigging on the elections, especially the close ones.
That doesn't
we know
happen,
they
David.
do that, right?
Come on.
So, but with these official results that they've got here, now she's going to be able to go in and say, but I won the plurality, and the superdelegates are just making this a majority, a 50% plus 1 vote. That's where we are.
Oh, wow. I can't believe that. It's like, it's like getting a hole in one. How do you get the exact number? But each his own. I mean,
you didn't even have to roll it into the cup. I mean, you just fly ball and it just goes straight. It
just dropped in like a ice cube or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So convenient.
All right. Like David said, we're to our last hour, and we're also down to our final 4 callers. I know there are more people that want to call in, but we have to go back to our reporters and more special reports. So these are the final 4. Let's go to Mike in California. Go ahead, Mike.
How you doing today?
Good.
Doing good.
Hey, I'm from Redding, California, and I just wanted to say that last Friday that we had a rally there, and we only had 1 protester, and we had about 3,000 in the gate, and then the fire marshal shut the gate, and there's a few thousand out.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is that when Trump actually spoke, he was talking to the media to show all the people, and they wouldn't show them. They actually put their thumbs down. So I thought that was pretty interesting that, it looks like there's
they put their thumbs down? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Explain that to us. We're both kind of puzzled. What?
Well, they had their, if you put your thumb up like, that's a good job, they put their thumbs down when he asked them to show all the people that
so you're saying they basically communicating no?
Yes,
okay.
Basically.
Oh, so he asked the media to show the crowd, and the media just put thumbs down and said, no, we're not going to do that?
Pretty much, exactly.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty biased, aren't they?
Yes, and the thing is, I was up front, and I was helping out with the VIP pit, and it was like 104. It was like hot, and they brought out water and everything, and I was fortunate enough to meet Trump out on the tarmac before he left, and he just seems like a regular Joe. I mean, really nice guy. I told him that I built like 3 websites, one for Northern California, one for Southern, and one for Central, because I work for the railroad, and I'm able to travel in different areas. Actually, I'm from Redding, but I'm by Fresno, California right now. And the interesting thing about Fresno was there was about 1/3 Hispanic people there inside the convention. It was so interesting because they had us go around, but I met so many Hispanic people because I'm trying to populate the websites with pictures. And they're just saying a lot of the people that are out there are just so uneducated, and then they go with what their friends say. They don't even read policy. They don't really understand what's really going on here. They just think he's racist, and they don't, they're not educated.
That's right. And they don't have anything to say when we engage them and say, why is he racist, okay? He triggered the social justice warriors on political correctness, and so that makes him a dyed-in-the-wool racist to the media, to the college kids that come out and protest. But when we're talking about Hispanics, there are a lot of Hispanics who support Donald Trump. We've interviewed them. And
absolutely. Yeah. That's when we go out to these rallies, of course, they don't want to show these people on other news stations, but we go out to these rallies like the one in Albuquerque, and like you said, they'll show, the anti-Trump people, but we showed the thousands upon thousands of people that entered this building to see Donald Trump. Many of them were Hispanics.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's really interesting because, it's just a small minority, and it's people that are getting paid. And it's like, I just find it very interesting that, they can burn these American flags, but if they really want to be